Bitch, I want my money here. Give me my money. Stupid suck off.
Now, this is another hood classic, an iconic one, might I add. I remember going to the movies to see this as well, and I couldn't wait till it hit pay-per-view so I could watch it again. Now, while I pretty much understood what was going on in the movie when I was younger, I wasn't at the age where I could get the nuances of Anthony's journey and the choices he made. And as you can just about guess, while watching this movie, I noticed some things, and you know we're going to talk about it. So let's get into it. So after a very long intro, the movie starts off in 1968 and we meet our main character, Anthony, played by Lorenz Tate, and his boys, Skip, played by Chris Tucker, and Jose. They just got done completing their shift as milkman and are now in a deep convo about if Anthony will ever bag Juanita. When Anthony shrugs off their questions, the convo quickly shifts to their post-high school plans, and Skip tries to offer Anthony some good advice and a warning.
Man, you better take your ass off to college, man. I'm telling you. Uncle Sam grab your ass like you gonna do this stupid motherfucker.
Skip has dreams of going to college, clearly, while Anthony doesn't share that dream, and he's actually thinking about joining the service because, in his words, he wants to do something different. Eventually, Anthony makes a last stop at Juanita's, and baby Juanita's sister Delilah was happy to see him. See, Delilah always had a thing for Anthony, but Anthony wasn't paying her no mind.
You should try working on your first boyfriend. Your sister?
But as Anthony walks away, Juanita calls out to him and they speak for a second and he heads off to school. We then go to Anthony heading over to Kirby's, but he's getting distracted at every step. He runs into this guy.
I want to tell Kirby I want 645 straight now.
Time,
I want you to be back here tonight.
Man, straighten your hat out.
You little motherfucker.
And this lady.
You know you brought me luck the other day. So look, 10 of that's for you.
Apparently, Anthony has the magic money touch with the numbers, but this is where we meet my favorite character out of this whole movie. He's a whole legend, by the way. Keith David. But Kirby runs the local pool hall and he's been looking after Anthony since he was younger. Kirby is an interesting character. We'll see why as the story progresses. But in comes this guy, Cowboy, played by Terrence Howard, man. And anytime Terrence Howard shows up in a hood classic, he gonna be with the shit every single time. And he comes in messing with Anthony and Kirby wasn't having it.
Leave that boy alone and let him shoot. He'll now shoot you.
As Cowboy tries to tell Kirby that Anthony don't belong there, Kirby challenges him to play Anthony at a game of pool. And Cowboy thought that this was going to be easy, but he soon found out that Kirby don't co-sign for just anybody. Anthony had game, and of course, Anthony ended up winning, and Cowboy was pretty sour about it. And with Kirby out of ear's reach, he tries to get over on Anthony.
Nigga, I'll kick your little monkey ass, man.
Oh, man.
Shut your motherfucking mouth, man.
But it was all over once Kirby looked over and saw what was going on, and he swiftly kicks him out. So we learned that Anthony helps Kirby run numbers, and to thank Anthony for helping him out, Kirby gives him a little extra on the side. But then we go to Kirby and Anthony en route to some fuckery of which Anthony don't know of just yet, but he soon will find out. As they get closer, Kirby encourages him to drive his car. And this was on purpose because Kirby goes into a rib shack to handle some business, and before Anthony knew it, he was watching Kirby whoop some ass in the rear view. And child, look at Heather B trying to run up. But Kirby offers an equal opportunity ass whooping.
You got more heart than your punk ass old man. Come here.
And then he gets a surprise.
Oh, what the fucking leg? You stupid son of a bitch. You grabbed the wrong leg, you stupid cocksucker.
But even grabbing his leg didn't stop him from talking shit and getting his point across.
Bitch, I want my motherfucking money here. Give me my fucking money. Stupid cocksucker. Oh, fuck.
They finally pull off and Kirby puts his leg on the dash. And he was still talking mess.
I tell you what, the next time a motherfucker grabs me by the wrong leg, I'm gonna use it to kick his ass between the shoulder blades.
We fast forward to Anthony and his family having dinner. We meet his brother, who appears to be on his way in the world and doesn't mind throwing it in his brother's face every chance he gets. It's clear at this point that Anthony does not want to go the same route his brother went. And maybe this was due to him feeling like he couldn't keep up with his brother, so he decided to go in the opposite direction on purpose. But he finally admits to his family that he's not going to college and that he's decided to enter the Marines. And baby, his mom and brother were pissed. His dad, on the other hand, seemed to be more understanding and offers to talk to his mama for him. Oh, I forgot to mention that Kirby was in the service as well, and that's the reason he has one leg. I'm bringing this up for a reason. Stick with me. So, we fast forward again to graduation night. Anthony, Skip, and Jose are at their graduation party and they're talking shit per usual. Skip, in his mind, was a pimp in training.
Pimping running my family. My great-great-granddaddy was a slave, and he was a pimp. He used to have hoes pick his cotton in the field. He didn't have to do shit.
We even get a little foreshadowing.
You better be careful, man. You're gonna catch something, Skip. Watch.
That's all right, motherfucker. I was born by the pussy, I'll die by the pussy. Don't worry about what the fuck I do.
And they learn that Jose has been summoned by Uncle Sam, and he will soon be heading out to serve. But when Jose and Anthony spot their girls and they start talking slick on the dance floor, it was time to head on out and get into some trouble. So Anthony and Juanita head over to her house to get a little something started. And of course, you already know what happens.
Yeah.
Much to Delilah's dismay. Poor little Ting Ting. But after their first round, Juanita has an important question.
So then you gonna marry me when you get back?
You got somebody else.
See, he didn't sound too excited about that prospect. Reason number one is of why Juanita should have moved on with her life. But they mess around and fall asleep and wake up to an unwanted surprise. Juanita's mama done got off early, and now Juanita gotta sneak Anthony out. And this will end up being the last time Anthony sees Juanita for quite some time. But this transition though. So we jump right smack in the middle of Vietnam. Dude really chose this over college, bruh. Child. So after they successfully hold their ground, they go over to see if they can recover anything from the bodies. And this is where things get real interesting. Cleon, yeah, that's his name, got mad that his buddy was able to get a valuable souvenir from one of the bodies. So what does he do? His crazy ass goes over to another body and beheads it and says this.
You hungry or something, Cleon? Just like you, sir. Collecting me a souvenir.
I think I'ma just go right ahead and give him this. And mind you, dude was a whole PK doing stuff like this. So we learned that somehow Skip joined the Marines as well. I guess his options were slim and college didn't work out for him. While Anthony and Skip are talking, we learned that Juanita got pregnant shortly after Anthony left. Anthony was so stuck in his own life and mind that he refused to even look at a picture she sent of their daughter. Reason number two, why Juanita should have moved on with her life. But it's mighty funny how he could somehow write Kirby the whole time he was over there, telling him about all the crazy things he's seen and been through, and also telling him about his comrades. We then fast forward to Anthony and his team in the bush, Cleon's ass still holding on to his prize, if we can call it that.
If you don't get rid of that fucking head.
I don't hear nobody else complaining but you.
Man, Cleon, you need to get the fuck on with that bullshit, man. That head smell like shit.
As soon as that man went to sleep, we would have to do what needed to be done, cause ain't no way. None. But anyway, Cleon finally throws the head away and tells them that by making him do that they've buried their luck. Which ironically turns out to be true because all hell breaks loose shortly after. They notice that one of their men had been gone for a minute too long, and they go off to find him, and when they do, dude was in a bad position. And by his body, they find a poster stating "Black man go home," and his lieutenant was not trying to hear or see none of it. And while Anthony carries the injured soldier back, he begs Anthony to take him out since he can't bear to go home in the condition he's in. Anthony refuses, but eventually agrees to do it and sends him on home to glory. Honestly, he showed more mercy than Uncle Sam would have when he made it home. So, though it was probably a very hard thing to do, I'm glad that he honored his wishes and granted him peace. And things get even more intense and they lose even more men. And Skip didn't want any parts of it. Now everybody busting back and he laying down. If you don't get your ass up. Anyway, but 6 months go by and Anthony finally touches back down. Now Skip touched down before him and bad habits followed him home from Vietnam. Really, bad habits followed all of them home in a different way. But when Anthony sees Skip, he's high and in another world. It wasn't until Cowboy noticed Anthony that Skip woke up and realized who he was. But Skip and Anthony talk as they walk to his parents' house. Apparently, Jose is now working at the post office, and Skip done got the package from somebody or something, and now he gets hella benefits, of which he does nothing with. Later on, Anthony's enjoying a family dinner with his parents, and Anthony's mama must have put her foot in that food because Anthony barely came up for air. And his mama tries to ask him questions, but at the same time, Anthony just wants to enjoy being home.
Well, Anthony, you're gonna have to tell us something now. You know, a lot of them boys went over there and got hooked on them drugs and stuff.
No bad habits, Ma. Except a little killing.
Anthony brought back some bad habits, but it wasn't drugs. We'll see what those habits are as the film progresses. But later on, Anthony shows up at Kirby's pool hall, and again, we get another cool transition scene. Gotta love the Hughes Brothers and their transitions and use of music in scenes. It hits every time. And it's here that he runs into Jose. Turns out, Jose burned his hand while at war. Child, none of them came back the same. But Kirby barely recognized Anthony when he saw him, but of course, he was really happy to see him. Now that Anthony was back home, life was hitting him hard. That suit and medals that he earned wasn't holding any weight, and he's having a hard time finding a job. I wonder why he never considered going back to school at this point. But he asked Kirby if he could work for him, but turns out that Kirby is struggling too, and things aren't how they used to be. Anthony eventually gets a job at a meat shop, and he finally finds the time to make it over to Juanita's to see his child. Listen, he went and saw the whole neighborhood before he went to see her. Reason number 3, why Juanita should have moved on with her life. Delilah greets him, and time has been good to her, and Anthony notices. But shortly after, Juanita and his daughter walk in, and he's finally able to see his baby girl, Sarah, for the first time. Again, finally. So later, Juanita takes him to her house, and this is where we meet her ex-boo, Cuddy.
Hey, baby girl. I see my little girl sleeping back there. Got a little something for Sarah. Buy something real nice.
Honey, I told you to stop spoiling her like this.
Somebody's got to do it.
Child, this is already starting off on the wrong note. And as soon as Anthony gets inside Juanita's place, he gets in his feelings about Cuddy, and Juanita tells him she used to see him, but they are not together. And Juanita quickly urges him to pick up his feelings since he was the one that went MIA and never responded to her letters. And while Anthony is pissed and insecure about his place in Juanita and their daughter's life, he later agrees to try. Then we fast forward to Anthony at the pool hall, and he's having a rematch with Cowboy. And Cowboy is still slow as hell and in his feelings about it. So Cowboy, again, starts talking mess, but he failed to realize that this is not the same Anthony that he punked back in the day.
What you got when you get back here, huh? Not a goddamn thing. Of course, you do got that fine-ass Juanita. Of course, you know her. A boss man, Cuddy, he used to tap that ass while you was opening arms.
We are starting to see that anger and violent tendencies are some of the bad habits that Anthony brought back with him. It was a wrap for him, man. Even Kirby knew he needed it. And it didn't take too long for Juanita to become pregnant with baby number 2. At this point, the honeymoon phase had worn off.
It's the power of the mind. We will ourselves a little boy.
Then can you will yourself a better job?
They start arguing about how he needs to do more and bring in more money, especially since Juanita will have to go on maternity leave soon, and if she's the only one bringing in substantial income, how are they going to make it? We then go to this scene. It's something about the music along with the 68 Lincoln Continental that just does it for me. Listen, the Hughes brothers know how to set a vibe. Anyway, this is where the thought of robbing a bank first gets introduced. Jose learned through his job that money comes through the post office first before making its way to Washington. Now, Kirby's interested instantly, but Anthony, he's still not sure about it quite yet, but he soon will be. We then go to Anthony back at Juanita's, and she's trying to start a makeup session, but Anthony is not with it. Juanita tries to get him to open up, but he refuses. Probably because he feels like she won't understand, but Anthony still has images of war that frequently flood his thoughts and his dreams. Anthony's got PTSD, another symptom of war. And then we go to this scene that still irks me. So Anthony's manager lets him know on the last day that the shop will be open that his meat shop is closing. No heads up or nothing. And he sends him off with a parting gift of meat. Child, I guess. So as Anthony's heading back home, he gets a flyer from this guy, similar to the one he saw over in Vietnam. This time it piques his interest. When he finally makes it to Juanita's, he runs into Cuddy. Mind you, this dude just got fired. I'm pretty sure Cuddy is the last person he wants to talk to right now. And Cuddy had to grind his pimp shoes right into his feelings.
I took care of your woman and your baby when you went to war. So from this point on, you should consider me like a friend of the family. I know about pride, but you got mouths to feed.
But Anthony was not trying to hear that shit.
Hey man, stay the fuck away from my family.
What did you say?
And it goes left. Now 2023 me is angry he made him drop all that free meat. Do you know how expensive that is? But he receives a final warning from Cuddy.
I tried to be a friend, motherfucker. Don't you ever in your fucking life bite the hand that feeds you, nigga. Sounds right.
And as you might have guessed, things get even worse for Anthony and Juanita after this. Anthony insists that she gives Cuddy back the money he gave her earlier, and Juanita was not trying to hear that. Realistically speaking, she really can't afford to since he's lost his job and she's about to go on maternity leave. Anthony's anger starts to simmer, and he asks a question he knew he didn't want the answer to.
Be honest, you fucking him, right?
That's what you want here, Anthony?
Uh-huh.
That's what you want here?
Yeah.
Fine. I'm fucking him.
And then Juanita starts to grind her heels in him even more. But unfortunately for her, she catches Anthony on the wrong day and at the wrong time.
Fuck, you can't get a decent job. You won't fuck me. The only time I get to hold you is when you're having one of them silly-ass nights.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
So after all of this, Anthony heads out to clear his mind, and he ends up at the meetup on the poster where he sees Delilah, the one he should have taken seriously from the get-go. But you know what? Anthony didn't deserve her. Hell, he didn't even deserve her sister, to be honest. But Anthony goes on to complain about the current state of his life to Delilah, and of course she's there to listen because after all these years, she still has a thing for him. Delilah had a lot going for her. She was in college, a part of an organization seeking change and empowerment, had her whole life in front of her. Yet and still, she saw something in him. So when he introduces her to his bank robbery plans, she goes along with it. So the plans go like this. They plan to hit up First Federal Savings and Loan early in the morning before the money is taken down to Washington and burned. Now, Kirby is supposed to be stationed in a getaway car on the corner. Anthony and Jose were going to be positioned underneath the loading dock where the truck would back in. Delilah would be positioned inside the dumpster, ironically. Child. And Skip will be positioned in the alley to serve as a lookout. And if anybody gets caught, the plan is to stay quiet and the others will keep their money until the person gets out. But then Kirby suggests that they need another lookout guy to cover the opposite side of the street from Skip. And let me say, I saw where Kirby was coming from, but at the same time, if it was just everybody at the table, I think they would have been better off. And I guess Skip and Jose feel the same way because he was not with it. Delilah brings up possibly bringing in one of the members of her organization, and it was a hard no from Kirby.
I can get somebody from my organization.
Oh, no. I don't want none of them revolutionary niggas involved.
And then Anthony brings up this guy. Yeah, this psycho right here. Now, out of all the people he could have brought in, he chose the most unpredictable guy ever. Child, Cleon is now a whole minister, leading his entire flock to straight destruction. And obviously God wasn't through with him yet because he agrees to participate in the bank robbery. So we fast forward to the morning of the robbery. Everybody's posted up where they're supposed to be and they're all waiting for the money truck. So soon after the money truck pulls in, Kirby pulls up and Skip and Anthony are looking out. And why was Cleon giving Skip such a judging look? You, out of all people, should not be looking down on nobody. Period. Anyway, the officers exit the money truck while a third one is in the driver's seat. Meanwhile, a cop walks up to Cleon and starts asking him questions. Cleon tells him that he's waiting on a bus, and as the cop calls in to check on the bus for him, the cop notices his patch and recognizes he too was in the service. As he's waiting on them to confirm the non-existent bus schedule, out walks the officers with the cash to put inside the money truck. And the time has come and it's now or never. So, as they open the truck, Anthony and Jose come out of hiding, but they're spotted by the officer in the driver's seat. And from there, it all goes bad. But Delilah ass, she was ready though. Anthony takes out some of the officers near the truck, while Skip takes out the cop that was talking to Cleon earlier after he shoots Kirby in the arm. At least he didn't freeze up this time. It was the drugs, I'm sure. Gave him a confidence boost. But Jose sticks a bomb to the back of the truck to open it up, and he was hella excited to see his work live in living color. And of course, things were starting to look too bright because another officer that they didn't account for comes out of the building and takes a shot at Anthony, and Delilah couldn't wait to bust a cap in his ass. But unfortunately, she wasn't quick enough and she gets got trying to save Anthony's ass. Ciao. And why were they just staring at the truck, just watching the money burn? But soon they realized that Delilah is a goner and they gotta leave her and get out of there fast. And listen, they running through the city with all this money, and Jose takes a wrong turn and ends up on a dead end street out of all places. And his death was gruesome as hell. But how the hell they catch him and not Kirby though? Dude couldn't even run fast. But anyway, Skip, Anthony, and Kirby are the last ones standing with all this money. All 300,000 of it. And then Cleon starts talking mess.
God's not gonna forgive me for this one. We done bought our way into hell.
See, this is where they should have known dude was gonna snitch. They should have just took dude right on out. And then the crazy part was he talked so much shit about Skip possibly freezing up, but he was the one that didn't take out the cop. Meanwhile, Anthony is feeling regretful about it all, but Cleon couldn't leave well enough alone and started talking even more mess to Skip.
Your chunky ass really messed up out there. Told Anthony I didn't want nothing to do with a crazy, devil-filled junkie.
What?
Look at him.
Again, confidence boost. Skip would not do this sober, and Kirby was over it.
I'm gonna tell you something. Now you make me lose count again, I'm gonna shoot me a motherfucker, and then we're gonna be splitting this thing up 4 ways, yeah?
So after the bank robbery, Anthony is still regretful over Delilah. Skip is doing more of what he does best, and they are all wanted men. Which is why I'm so confused about why they thought giving away toys to the neighborhood kids wouldn't bring them unwanted attention. And then Cleon wasn't no better because he starts handing out $100 bills to any and everybody and bought himself a brand new Cadillac. Now, Kirby wants to take him out, but Anthony would rather talk to him, and maybe he should have let Kirby do his thing because by the time he gets to the church, the cops got him hemmed up. And honestly, they should have left that day. They knew dude was gonna break. He damn near broke at the table after the robbery. And soon after that, the cops showed up to Skip's, but unfortunately, Skip was already gone. Now, this scene still haunts me till this day. And then the song playing in the background was so fitting for him. Then we go to Kirby and Anthony taking their sweet, precious time, leaving town, and you already know the cops ran up on them, and it's officially game over. We then fast forward to Anthony's day in court, and when Anthony brings up the fact that he served in the Marines to try and move the judge to be lenient on his charges, the judge reads him for filth.
I, too, was a Marine, and I served my country proudly in World War II, a real war, I may add. And this young man has obviously forgotten some very fundamental things like decency and dedication and honor.
All of which Anthony couldn't pay his bills with or get a decent job, but the judge gives him 25 years to life, and Anthony blows up. I bet college don't sound too bad right now. And child, this is basically the end of the movie, and we fade out to a classic bop.
Walk on by, make believe.
And here are my final thoughts. Anthony made bad decision after bad decision this whole movie. It all started with him refusing to go to college and instead entering the service. He had his brother urging him to go to college, his mom urging him to go so that he could have more opportunities and get a good job. And even if he didn't want to go to college, I'm sure he could have picked up a trade, something, anything, but go into the Marines on purpose. Now, his dad had once served, Kirby had once served, so he was around people who knew what that life was about and could show him, i.e. Kirby's leg that he lost. So he wasn't ignorant to what could happen. He had Skip telling him to go to college, his mom and his brother, but for some reason he felt like the Marines was his only option. And what was so sad about it was that after serving, killing, seeing people getting brutally killed, voluntarily not communicating with the mother of your child, Anthony came home worse off than when he left. He had no job, no education, or means to get a better job than he could have gotten without even going into the service. And his poor decisions affected everybody. First and foremost, Juanita and Sarah. He didn't even write Juanita back, didn't acknowledge their daughter until he got back home, and then got mad that she was entertaining someone else. Secondly, everyone who participated in the robbery, by including Cleon's unpredictable ass. But in addition to his poor decisions, the PTSD he gained from Vietnam made him impulsive. And let's talk about Miss Delilah. Delilah's love for Anthony got her killed. She was doing so well for herself and honestly would have been a better partner for Anthony if he was on his shit, that is. And she should have dropped all feelings for him after seeing how he didn't communicate with Juanita or see about her niece the whole time he was gone. I think by the time he realized that she was the one, it was too late. Though it was unfortunate what happened to all of them, especially Skip, I feel for her the most. But anyway, that's it, y'all. Thanks for watching this review. This video will be on Spotify per usual. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time, you guys. Bye.